And today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, it is a holiday that celebrates the life and legacy of Dr. King. Now, he envisioned a truly united nation with racial justice and equality for all.
And you know, decades after his death, that vision is still something we are striving for today in an effort to get the conversation about race started right here in Houston. Tonight, TV8 is airing a special titled Houston in Black and White. And here to tell us more about it are the hosts of the show, Houston Public Media's Ernie Manous and News 88.7's Eddie Robinson. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about the special. I've already seen it in advance, but what can viewers expect to see tonight at 9 o'clock?
Well, we took 6 black viewers, and we took 6 white viewers, and we separately interviewed them and asked them a series of questions, actually the same questions.
Same set of questions.
And we wanted to get their perspectives, their insight as related to policing, crime, diversity. And it was fascinating because once we took that content and then we presented it to 4 influencers. And those 4 influencers, modern day civil rights activists, we wanted to get their overall view of what that content was. And that's basically the 60-minute show with Houston in Black and White.
And we're seeing some video of it now, the 2 separate groups. So this strategy, I mean, what you guys are really trying to do is not create controversy or cause drama. You're really trying to start an honest, open conversation, right, Ernie?
The idea of having the separate groups was we wanted people to talk among themselves the way they truly do. And that by us being able to eavesdrop or be part of that, see how much we have the same concerns no matter what our race is. We want the same things. And as people come to understand that about each other, maybe then that bridge to healing can be much easier and quicker.
Were there any surprises?
Oh, lots of surprises. Every time I watch it, I see something different.
When you ask a Houstonian, is Houston really a diverse city? You might get different answers, different sort of perspectives. And I think this show really sort of pulls that out. And that's why we're asking people when they see the actual 60-minute show on TV8, feathers will be ruffled. You know, people will say some very offensive things, but at the same time, people will say some inspiring things, some motivational things.
So this is not a tiptoe kind of walk around the issues. This is go.
The idea was to keep it as honest and open, because if you don't have an honest discussion about these things, you'll never get anywhere. Right. But if the honesty is done in a light of compassion and healing, you can be honest and deal with difficult subjects and get somewhere with it. And the other thing we like to point out is the fact that these are a bunch of different opinions and ideas, but they're not all the opinions, not all the ideas that are out there. So we're going to be very active on social media, doing a kind of a Twitter party. So hashtag HOUBW. People can react to whatever they're seeing, can ask questions. All of the panel and the 2 of us are both going to be live, tweeting back, answering questions while the show's going on.
Speaking of social media, of course, this weekend there was, on the national front, a political uproar between Trump and also John Lewis. Are you guys surprised? You guys have been working on this project for, what, 18 months?
Well, it's been a while in the workings, and then probably since the summer, really heavily laying it out and trying to pull it together. I don't think we're surprised at all at what's going on today.
Absolutely not, and this is probably the most opportune moment to have a show like this.
Yeah.
And with what he said, Congressman Lewis, and then what Trump, how he reacted, it's very interesting because you look at, do people really know John Lewis? Do people really know his story? And that's what TV8 does in terms of understanding people's stories, understanding their life experiences. Some people, think that, 1972, this would have been appropriate. 1982, it would have been even more appropriate. But here we are in 2017. Is this still happening? And here we are just days before the inauguration of probably one of the most controversial presidents that we've ever had. And he's replacing an 8-year president who's African American. This is the proper moment to have it, especially on Martin Luther King night.
And guys, we do have a few clips from the show, which we're going to show in just a moment. I also want to point out, though, what happened last week in Chicago. You mentioned, Eddie, at the top of our show, that the way your special airs tonight, you've taken a number of topics: education and equality, diversity, police, media. We have a clip of the police section. Why don't we take a look at that, and then we'll talk about it.
The only way you are able to be a dirty cop is if other cops allow you to be one. And I think that's what we always seem to not talk about while we're focusing on the fact that someone shot so-and-so, is that the escalation of police brutality or aggressive police posturing with the citizenry is not just a single officer. It is becoming the culture of policing in the United States.
And we just saw that again in Chicago last week with this Department of Justice investigation into the
People
police.
often talk about, well, Houston is so far ahead of so many other major cities. And we truly are when it comes to these things. We hear these stories of different major cities where these things are going on. But just because we are in a better position doesn't mean we're in a perfect position. And so we can still learn from all of this. We still have a ways to go. And having these conversations will help us get there and become a model for other cities.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of diversity, we also have a clip of the diversity. Because, yes, we are a diverse city, but
145 different languages spoken here.
But maybe some of our neighborhoods are not quite as diverse as they could be. Let's roll this clip.
Most people refer to Houston as a melting pot, when in actuality, I feel like it's more like a salad bar. I think everything is represented, but it's all in its own section.
The thing that bothers me about the city of Houston is we still have a large section of the city that is basically just segregated. And I don't think that it's healthy, and I think that it's still part of the past.
People have an opportunity to express, and mix in with other cultures, like in restaurants or in museums or in the workplace. But when it comes to our living situations, most of us still live in some neighborhoods that are considered segregated, or parts of town that are traditionally black or traditionally Asian or traditionally Hispanic, or traditionally white. And so when it comes down to our living environments, we can say that our experience there isn't as diverse as it should be.
It's really interesting. I never really thought about it.
That's one of the surprises that to me, I was like, what?
Absolutely. And it goes further, which surprised me. The conversation that followed after that was the fact that, yes, we call ourselves diverse, and there is diversity here, but is there equal opportunity? Is there equal access? And that's where the conversation went, and that was pretty eye-opening for me.
And what was eye-opening for me is, when you think about it, the days of the week, yeah, we have to work with each other in terms of the workplace, but do you realize that Sunday is quite possibly the most segregated day of the week? Everyone has their, in terms of like worship services in their church facilities. This is a moment where we have an opportunity to say, look, some people think that racism is only in certain pockets. Some people think racism is widespread. But when you say that racism is the norm, that's when things start to get really intense. Would you travel or move to Acres Home if you're a white person? Would you travel or move, if you can afford it, in River Oaks? These are the kinds of questions and examples and insight as to what this show is all about. We're looking at people's experiences, their life journeys, and we have a disclaimer at the beginning. These are their views. These are their opinions.
Well, maybe not even just moving, even would you go into a different church? Would you go into a different restaurant?
One of the questions that we posed to the individual groups was, is there a place you don't feel safe going? And the surprise was how many of the whites said, yes, they have places they're uncomfortable going. And then the blacks, it was a total flip of where they felt uncomfortable going. And they all had stories and experiences. And so we all do share these fears. We all do want these same hopes and the same benefits that we can get.
And that's why we're emphasizing that while viewers are watching this 60-minute show, have your smartphone next to you, have your laptop next to you. This is your moment to tell us your journey, your experiences. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you relating to these stories? Hashtag HOUBW is where we're asking viewers to express their opinion.
Lastly, we want to show, yeah, of course, we want to show a clip of education inequality, because we hear about the level playing field or an unequal playing field.
Too. There you go.
And of course, that starts with education. So let's take a look.
Dr. King's dream never was fulfilled. He asked for integration, not desegregation.
Well, the old past was separate but equal. As a young person, I knew that was a lie, but we still have a significant problem with that, and I don't see that it's gone away. Now, I see that it has changed in the younger generation.
Guys, what I think is so interesting is no matter what your passions are and your feelings on this issue, when you look at the data, just in black and white, no pun intended, but the wealth gap between white people versus black people. People have issues with affirmative action. They talk about, well, if someone wants to get ahead, they can just go work hard. But we've seen that the wealth gap now is greater than it was in the past. So that, again, was one of the many surprises that I saw. Last final moments, encouraging people to
that's what people are talking about in the show itself, that you think that just because things are better or we get along, that means we all have the same opportunities. And it's in those opportunities that the segregation continues to hold people separate and away from each other. And what we want to point out also is that this is just one part of a much bigger project Houston Public Media is doing. It's a year-long initiative called Diverse City. And so we narrowed down on this one topic for our show for tonight. But throughout the year, we'll be looking at different groups, different races, different areas of the city, and how we all work together to become this diverse city that we are.
More to come.
Eddie, final thoughts?
I just think that it was very appropriate when we were in the process of production. I traveled to the National Museum of History and Culture at the African American History and Culture Museum out in D.C. And it's just an explosive moment for me to understand my heritage and my background and what went on when I was little, and my grandparents, huge hardcore civil rights activists, and they were very instrumental in eliminating Jim Crow laws. And when I watched this show, it enabled me to look back at my experiences of being discriminated against and say, look, am I holding these things differently? Am I still holding on to these negative feelings? It allowed me to just open up and understand where a lot of these people, where they were coming from, how they were raised as they were kids. And it allowed me to just open up and pull the layers back and say, interestingly enough, I can connect with others and still hold my emotions and embrace them, because I wouldn't be here where I am today without their education.
Eddie Robinson.
Cannot wait to see it
Ernie
tonight.
Manous, thank you so much. It is such a fantastic hour. I hope you'll all tune in. Houston in Black and White premieres tonight at 9 p.m. on TV8. You can also watch it live online at houstonpublicmedia.org. And again, to share your thoughts on race, post to social media using the hashtag HOUBW. Thanks again, Eddie and Ernie.
Thank you.